pain. The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham. I'm Batman.
Hey now, welcome to episode number 169 of the Batman on Film podcast. I am Bill Jett Ramey. I'm also the founder and editor-in-chief of Batman on Film, which Garret Grev is with me. Garret, how are you, sir?
Doing very well. Pleasure to speak with you as always. Thanks.
Yeah, usually you and I have become the vlog guys, and now we've knocked out a few podcasts. I think the last one we did was the first one that you and I did together. So
right.
May make this a little bit more regular. I know Ryan's he's kind of guiding that podcast ship for Batman on Film. So hopefully he'll be back soon enough. So. Yesterday, June 1st, that was the official anniversary date, the 22nd anniversary of Batman on Film. It's always June 1st, so 22 years I've been doing this. That just blows my mind, dude.
It's literally a lifetime, right? For a lot of people, that's a full adult life.
That is, yes. Batman on Film has been legal to drink for a year now. Yeah. It's had its driver's license for 6 years. Yeah,
I think that means, Bill. That means in like 2.5 months will be my 20th anniversary of reading the site back in the old tripod days. Oh my, yes. Yeah. There was a tripod period. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. It was everything was on one page, and I don't think anybody knew your real name for the longest of time.
That's true.
And it was during my it's been 20 years. It's been 20 years. That's crazy. I remember I found it during football camp that summer.
Okay.
It was something I would read between two-a-days, and I was like, oh, this is great. Looking for news on if we were going to get Batman 5 back in the day.
Batman 5, which was Batman Triumphant. We incorrectly called it for that for a while. It ended up being, it was actually Batman Unchained.
Yeah, we called it that for like decades, right?
For a long time. Yeah, it's been recently that who wrote that? Mark Potasevich wrote that script that said, in the last 3, 4, 5 years, said it was actually Batman Unchained. So we could do a whole podcast or blog about some of the failed Batman on Film projects.
Yeah.
During that gap between Batman and Robin and, of course, Batman Begins. So
it's funny. I took a real brief trip down memory lane on that same subject. I was over, our good friend Ryan Lauer was kind enough to invite me back on an episode of the Batman Book Club, and it was a sort of listener question episode, and somebody had asked about our thoughts on Batman Begins, and about that ever getting to the big screen. I said, well, we were almost there in the early 2000s, and we talked about that, and then Aronofsky's Year One, and Wolfgang Petersen's Batman versus Superman, and it just brought me all the way back. He's chased down any scrap and little snippet of news I could get from you and Garth over at Dark Horizons, and when Ain't It Cool was still going strong. It really, that's a trip down memory lane. That'd be fun to do sometime. I
think only maybe Garth and I are the only two OGs left from that era. I know Ain't It Cool News is still going, but Harry's not involved anymore. So, anyway, there was a bunch of Corona's coming attractions. Do you remember that one?
Oh, sure do. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
There was comic book movie news. There was, and I don't know if that morphed into something else. This is going to take me. I've got an old computer someplace that probably has all those bookmarked in whatever Internet Explorer version I had back in the day.
Do you remember Comics to Film?
Comics to Film. That's the one I was just trying to think of. Comics to Film.
Yeah.
That it wasn't comic book movies, films. It was Comics to Film.
Yeah, that was my. old friend Rob Worley ran that site. Then he sold it, So
Oh, really? That was a good one. That was one of my favorites.
It was a great one, man. I really liked that.
When Superman Returns was being made, there's Blue Tights Net. And it was sort of like, Batman on film. And Blue Tights Nets, for a guy whose two favorites are Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
We're sort of like the fan pages that, were respected and blessed with some inside information because the studio knew it would be handled correctly. That was the world's finest of fan sites back in the day.
I hated seeing Blue Tights go away. I mean, and that was a conscious effort by the guy who ran it. It didn't just, it didn't get bought out or anything like that. He just moved on,
Yeah.
So, all right. Speaking of Superman, a little bit of Superman news, Superman on film news. I've been wanting to talk about for the last few days, and thought about doing it this morning. Gave you a text, and here we are. So, according to, and this is something I wrote. I said, if this pans out, I'll get a conga line going. And whoever wants to jump on can, but because if you read Batman on film, and if you actually read what I write and know my positions on things, I have long wanted a sequel to Man of Steel. I think that's where the whole thing went off the rails. There should have been Man of Steel 2 or whatever they wanted to call it instead of BBS. I think Henry Cavill was one of the got the shortest end of the stick of anybody involved in that period of Man of Steel, BBS, and then Justice League, and I hope he does get a proper Superman film. But the story is, and let me find it so I'll read it correctly. Actually, Deadline was the one who broke the story, and this was on the 28th of May, and they reported that Warner Brothers is still not developing a standalone solo Superman film, and that Henry Cavill is in negotiations to reprise the role, most likely in a future DC movie such as Black Adam, Shazam 2, and then they also mentioned Aquaman 2. Then basically the Wrap reported the same thing. They just said, same thing. Henry Cavill's in talks to reprise the role of Clark Kent Superman. The trade does not say whether they don't know whether it's for a run of new Superman films, or they even threw out some reshoots for the Snyder cut of Justice League, which is not going to happen. I'll just go out on that limb. As soon as I say that, it'll happen. But
yeah,
but
just our luck.
Yeah. So, Garret, I know that, like you just said, your Superman is one of your favorite characters, and top two, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And how you feel about this news? Let me frame it this way. What if it's just they're trying to get him to do something in Black Adam or something like that?
Yeah, I'd say. So I'll break down my thoughts in two parts. One, Henry Cavill back in the suit and cape makes me very happy. Mm-hmm. If that happens, I'd be very excited. I agree with you entirely. I think, Snyder, we've said a lot of times and given him a lot of praise where it's due, he can cast a movie or at least help work through the casting process. And Cavill was a mm-hmm. fantastic pick. He had been looked at for the role, when he was much younger, probably too young for the role, being why he didn't get it, and mm-hmm. then came back around with this. And I think he's just, really pretty fantastic in it, better than the material he's been given.
Yes.
And I would love to see him continue to play this character because he has a passion for it. He has a vision, as he stated, for where he believes the character should go and where the character should have evolved from the stories we've gotten so far, and I would very much like to see that. Now, to your more pointed part of the question, if this is just for cameos in little bit pieces, I hate to say, I'll take what I can get because I want so much more for the character than that. It will be a disappointment for me. If there's a creative way that he can be featured in some other movies and it works, and the filmmakers that are the ones making these pictures want to include him, and that fits in their story, then great. I think that's the filmmaker's the prerogative to include him. If it's a studio mandated thing where it's just sort of shoved in, and it's a quick little thing to say, oh yeah, remember this is out there, I think that's a disservice and a misuse of the character. Not that I wouldn't enjoy it, but I think the character deserves so much more, is capable of so much more, and has so many more incredible stories that I'd like, frankly, to see Henry Cavill star in and help portray.
I have a hard time believing, as much as he enjoys this role, that he would sign on just to be in, for instance, to be in Black Adam or whatever. You know, there would have to be a part of the contract where there was an option for a Superman film or Superman films solo. I don't know. You know. I hope it's my hope that this whole thing is for at least another Superman film with him. And
I think it'd be silly not to, and I think it would be and silly all the way around, right? So Henry Cavill, he's not a list, People magazine cover hugest celeb in the world, right? But he is definitely someone whose star has continued to be on the rise. He had good exposure in Mission Impossible. It wasn't a Henry Cavill movie. I think some people were expecting kind of that to be the case, and it wasn't. But he was great in it. And then The Witcher comes out and is on Netflix, and it's a big hit for Netflix. And it's a big hit for Netflix even before the pandemic hits and streaming services become what everybody's living off of for entertainment. And so that audience has expanded. The numbers have been great for that. And Cavill's got a lot of goodwill with fans. There were some corners of fandom, in the Snyder Cut camp that didn't think he was doing enough to support that. They've all seemed to come around, right? When you're on the Zoom Vero announcement thing with your beloved director, then that changes some minds. I don't know that there's a lot of people that say I don't want Henry Cavill as Superman at all anymore. So it'd be silly for Cavill to sort of back down and say, okay, make me this bit player where I'm in and out. I'm sort of, a side character, just kind of coming into the background or to remind everybody that there's a connected universe at some sort of level, whatever. And I don't think it'd be smart for Warner Brothers Pictures to say, let's underutilize this guy that's like, built like an actual superhero, handsome dude, tons of charisma, has a following, loves playing the role. It would be a misstep on both parts to limit it to that. And, what we've seen from Cavill and his team and his relationship with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson and his manager, and they're really pushing to make this guy an even bigger star, a bigger household name. And I would have a hard time thinking that he's going to settle for Cameo Man versus Superman proper.
Yeah, I would think that, for one thing, I would say that I would rather Captain Marvel, Shazam, whatever you want to call him, should be in a Black Adam. I mean, Black Adam is a Shazam character, a Captain Marvel character. I don't see the need to have Superman in it because the Dwayne Johnson and Cavill want to partner up. Right. Whatever. They've teased that in the past. Whether it happens, I don't know. But also, I think I've been told, and you maybe be able to confirm this, that Cavill has been critical of how Superman was portrayed so far. And he has. And I don't think overly so. Right? He wasn't a jerk about it. Just basically said that he was looking forward to see the character to continue to evolve to the character audiences are familiar with. That inspirational, hope-filled character that does what he does out of love and appreciation and respect and care for his adopted home planet, as opposed to this guy that's conflicted and tormented over his place in the world. And I'm exaggerating a bit on that, but not too much in the portrayal we got, honestly. No, you're really not.
So Cavill didn't tear down any directors. He just said he wanted to continue. He wanted to have seen that development. And even I'll give him credit for this. in the question and answer portion of the Man of Steel watch party, he even talked about, with Zack and Deborah Snyder right there, virtually with him, that, he was a little disappointed with how that trilogy wrapped up as it related to his character. And I think that's just fine, because all indications, to me, are that Henry Cavill wants a Superman that feels super, and not just in their scope of power and ability, but in their approach to how they carry out their heroics. And I'm on board with that.
I'm with you. I would love to see him get another solo film. I just, and to move on from this real quick here in a second, but I just thought Man of Steel, which I've said before, I borderline love, which I find ironic, is that I borderline love Man of Steel, and I get shit from Superman fans a lot for feeling that way about it. There's a lot of Superman fans that are really critical of Man of Steel, but it just, that line at the end, it teed it up perfectly. Welcome to the planet, which has had a double meaning, and you could have moved into the traditional Superman. I get what they were going for. I thought, and I like the film, but it's time for that was Superman feeling his way, making his way through the world and finding himself. And now it's time for, he's found himself, and he's just pure Superman. That's my opinion. And last thing, I would say this, and this is no slight at Mr. Snyder, but you got to go with a different director and creative team if you do a solo Superman film. I just can't not see how it's, again, as much criticism as Man of Steel got from Superman fans, and it's it was not reviewed all that well. It underperformed in Warner Brothers eyes at the box office. I just don't see how you bring back that same group, and that maybe even include David Goyer, as who wrote the screenplay. So the rumor came, I don't know where this rumor came from, how much of a rumor, J.J. Abrams may be in the mix to direct it. So what's your thoughts on that?
I tell you what, so we talked about, back in the day, and the scripts that almost got made and didn't. And JJ had, oh boy, did he have a treatment for Superman? And, I read that, I believe, I was trying to find this out, and I didn't quite find it to be able to have it right in front of me, but I think that was the Superman Flyby.
That was Flyby,
right?
yeah.
It was going to be directed by McGee, I think.
It was McGee, and then there was Brett Ratner was involved at some point. Yeah.
That shifted in, and I think it was going to be a new take at some point.
This is the one where Krypton was in Civil War.
Yeah, there was no explosion. Baby Kal-El was sent to avoid Civil War. I think there was a prophecy involved. Lex was a Kryptonian FBI agent. There was no Zod, but there was a character called Tyzor, I think.
Wasn't Val Kilmer rumored for that role at one time?
Yeah, Kilmer was in the mix for that. And it was boy. It was
and the suit popped up out of a ring, didn't it? Like
the Flash.
Like the Flash, yeah.
So it was certainly a different approach. But, J.J. Abrams, I'll say this, he knows how to make a very effective popcorn movie. He knows what he has an interesting knack in finding what audiences want from properties that he's breathing some new life into. You can point to some critiques with The Last Jedi to dispute some of those things, but I think he has a very proven track record as an entertainer. If he is working off a different script and something more traditional to Superman, and obviously, likely within the world that's already been established, if this would still be with Cavill, then I'd be all for it. I think he's a hell of a filmmaker, and he knows sci-fi, he knows action. I think he could be a great fit for this. But I would like to see Cavill continue. I would not like to see. I think a reboot with Cavill and role would be very, very, very strange. We'll see what happens with this. But I would be on board with JJ. Could
you Batman Forever it?
Yeah.
And can you do that way? And not replace Cavill, but soft reboot. I'm concerned, and that I would be concerned whether or not Amy Adams would return as Lois, and Lawrence Fishburne. I don't know how. I think their contracts are expired by now. She's on the record saying she doesn't think is going to reprise the role of Lois again, and mainly because they were going to go in a different direction, Warner Brothers. So who knows, Garrett?
Yeah.
It's.
She's an incredibly talented actress.
Yeah.
I think from a talent standpoint, it would be a loss. I catch heat for this when I say it, but I'd be lying if I said she was my favorite Lois Lane.
Yeah.
But she's an incredibly talented actress and brings an air of credibility to any project she's on.
Mm-hmm,
I really liked Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White. I thought that was great. But yeah, as far as Batman Forever soft reboot, but keep the Cavill in there. Give me a reboot where we've got a young kid intern Jimmy Olsen with a bow tie and a camera around his neck that didn't get gunned down in a different country at CAA op.
It was just too much fun to kill off Jimmy Olsen, man.
Yeah, man,
just
so
fun.
Much. Yeah, way more fun than having to be Turtle Boy on the local TV or kids educational program. Give me that soft reboot with Cavill. Keep it in universe for whatever reason you need to do that. But Let's just kind of move on from the stuff that didn't click. Give another filmmaker a chance to approach the same character in the same sort of universe with their own vision and their own take. And I'm on board. You couldn't keep me away from that movie.
I'm with you, and I will defend Henry Cavill when he was not part of the hashtag Sunday movement a few months ago. I get why he wasn't. That was a political move. He didn't want to do anything to upset the folks at Warner Brothers Pictures.
Yeah,
I get it totally. He does not have the cachet that a Ben Affleck has. Or, even Gal after Wonder Woman, and quite frankly, even Jason Momoa after Aquaman was $1 billion movie. So I get it, and I'll defend him for that. So if I know he did get shit over that, and I thought it was unfair. So that's all. That's my soapbox. So that's all I got on that one. So, any last words on this before we move on to the Batman, a little bit of Batman news?
No, but I not really, but I would just say in the same way, Bill, you campaigned and beat the drum for a great representation of Batman on film. I think it's perfectly valid that a podcast and website called Batman on Film would champion this cause. So I appreciate the time to talk about my 1B when it comes to 1A Batman, 1B Superman, and sometimes on any given day it might flip flop, but Batman's normally on top there.
Hey. I love Batman, but I've loved Superman just as long. So, hope this pans out for a solo film for him. So, the Batman. Of course, we know the Batman's been shut down. Its production's been shut down since March. And on our last podcast, I had heard that there's some rumor that, things may be moving in the direction of it going back in front of the camera. And then this past weekend, The Guardian in the UK wrote a story saying that the Batman is one of several big budget film and TV productions that have been given the green light to resume filming. Safety guidelines, which were created by the British Film Commission and the British Film Institute, have been okayed by the UK's Department for Culture, Media and Sport, and Public Health England, and the Health and Safety Executive. And they and it said they will be up. So these guidelines have been okayed, and it's up to each individual production to decide how and when to restart filming. So maybe the Batman will get back in front of the camera, maybe July, August, maybe, possibly. There's been some scuttlebutt. I've heard some rumor about maybe later on this month. So, yeah, maybe get some Batman stuff. Start rolling again here pretty soon, Garrett. So,
and that would be great because I think the longer this has gone on. Let me first say, keep our priorities in line. Safety and health come first. And if these productions have a way of meeting the guidelines that the experts have set up, then I think we should be happy that they can get back to work and expect that the production of these movies and these films is done carefully with respect to safety and potential contamination, and making sure they do all the necessary things right to help improve and keep the situation as in the best possible situation that it can be. So that's first and foremost. But second from that, I'm really glad it sounds like they're going to be able to do that, or have a plan to be able to do that, because the longer this went on, the more and more I was starting to get like, oh boy, does this date shift again? And if so, how much longer am I going to have to be patient? Because I mentioned whether it was a vlog or last time we talked, I think it was a vlog. I kind of questioned whether this would shift into a Christmas holiday type release, and thought it was much more likely we'd be looking at 2022. And while I can be patient for the best possible product, I don't want to have to wait that long. So it's good news to me. Great news to me.
Yes, and again, as long as it's safe and they have, I've read several of the stories of all the guidelines and stuff, and they seem to be very thorough and have a very have a good plan how to do it safely. And you'd be surprised how many people are actually on a set for a movie. Being on the set for The Dark Knight back in it was in June of 2007, so 13 years ago in Chicago. I'd never been on a movie set before, and I knew there were more people than just one camera director and whatever was on the set, but just behind the scenes, there's just so many people. And when we went and ate lunch at the commissary they had, it was just 100 plus people, with extras and everything else. So a lot of people. So they're going to have to follow all those guidelines to stay safe. And I tweeted yesterday, and I was not joking, but, I wasn't like really demanding anything, but I was like, if and when the Batman gets back to production here shortly, maybe Matt Reeves and Warner Brothers will mark the occasion with maybe a couple new promo pics or a little teaser video of something. That would be cool. And I would like to see them. And I say that because, man, that the momentum for that film was really starting to build very, slowly, but, with the Batmobile pictures and then that first, that camera test with the little Batman theme, the new Batman music for it, that it had some, it was starting to build up and it was exciting, and then it just boom, it ended, back in March. So maybe they need something to kind of kickstart the momentum wave again.
Yeah, and then you had as much as we don't really condone the use of spy pics and spreading stuff around that the studio hasn't given their blessing to. You had some of the spy pics from the shooting that was filming in Glasgow, and then just recently with the model of the Batmobile. So it's like you want to keep it. That it was really starting to cook, and it was kind of getting out there into the pop culture ether, and even some people that don't follow this stuff all that close. Before I started working from home, for the last 2.5 months, would talk to me about it in the office and say they brought it. Of course, if my work friends, if anybody sees something Batman, immediately they need to ask me about it, which I love. It's fun. But it was kind of nice to see it sort of seeping out into the collective knowledge a bit more. And then we've got other stuff going on. We got a lot of other stuff going on. It would be great for a couple of reasons. One, get this thing moving again. Get the hype going, get people excited, whet the appetite. But two, if we're at a place where we can spend more of our time and attention looking at cool Batman stuff instead of some of the rest of the things going on in the world, that means maybe we're moving in the right direction on that standpoint too.
I'm with you. So, this is Batman on film. So, and there is a Batman film out there in the works. So that's the wheelhouse. I love a solo Batman film. That's when I'm in my wheelhouse, and I love it. I love the build up. I love the whole process of getting to the film. And like I said, it's almost as fun as seeing the movie in the first place. So hopefully we'll get back there here shortly. So That's all I got. A little Superman talk and a little Batman talk, a little World's Finest talk. And Garrett, anything you want to plug?
We've got new comic books that are starting to come out again, which is great.
Finally, yeah.
So I actually owe you a review here, Bill. Besides Justice League, which I think I got to check the schedule. I think that's next week. Batman Superman is out, and then I'm also getting to work on my review. It's been out just a little bit, but I had my chance to view it. Justice League Dark Apokolips War. So there will be a couple new things that you should see from me in the near future. But until then, you can find me at Garret WATO. That's GARRET on Twitter. And we can talk about Superman, Batman, which one you like more on any given day. We can talk about Masters of the Universe. There's a live-action Masters of the Universe that apparently is still in development. And then, we are 100 days away from the NFL season as of today, as long as everything, follows the right curve.
Fingers crossed.
And
hopefully for that. Yeah.
And that's basically what you get from me. Every once in a while, some stuff about my kids, so enjoy that too.
Good. Yeah, I was glad to give you the access to the Justice League Dark Apokolips War, so I'm looking forward for your review.
Very much appreciated.
At the same time, I assigned, quote unquote, Ryan Lauer. He got the Watchmen gig, so we had 2 reviewing copies from Warner Brothers Home Video, and he is doing the HBO Watchmen series, which actually his review of the series is out on Batman on Film yesterday. The Blu-ray dropped of the entire limited series dropped today, and then he'll do a part 2 with all the bonus features. He's going to go through them and do that as a separate review. So look for that. And I got a new Batman on Film mailbag out today if you want to check it out. So that's all I got. You can follow me at Batman on Film. Remember, Batman on Film is the host and the sponsor of the Batman Podcast Network. So check out those shows at batmanpodcastnetwork.com. And if you like what we do here at Batman on Film and want to throw in a couple of quarters to help pay for, the hosting in the podcast and everything else we do here, you can find us at patreon.com/BatmanOnFilm. So for Garrett, I am Bill, and thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
You have been listening to the official podcast of the one and only Batman on Film website. On Twitter, follow BOF at Batman on Film and the Batman Podcast Network at BatPod Network. For Jett and everyone at Batman on Film, I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening to the authoritative, definitive, the original Batman on Film.